Photographic Composition, Lecture 1, Introduction and Overview, Part 3. Scale. There are a number of ways to convey scale in photographs. Certain objects we know from common experience to be within a range of sizes, and when seen from an average person's standing viewpoint, we can tell what the size of nearby objects are likely to be. We are able to do this in part using the depth perception courtesy of our binocular vision. All photographs, on the other hand, are flat, two-dimensional, and viewers have to rely on what they know about objects instead of depth perception. It's not known whether William Eggleston had any of this in mind when he made this picture of a small child's tricycle, because the trike is so close to the camera in relation to the houses it appears immense by comparison. Adding to this illusion is that what we can see of the ground between them has been eliminated almost entirely. Beyond the visual sleight of hand, this could be seen as a representative view of mid-20th century southern suburbia, which has been Eggleston's constant milieu. This is an image by Edward Steichen taken at the Parthenon in Greece of Isadora Duncan, the dancer. And you can see that the scale is monumental, at least of the architecture. And this is a rave photographed by Andreas Gursky in 2008. This is what's called an Ames room, which has been constructed to look like an average room, but has been made in such a way that the farthest corner on the left appears to be the same distance from the camera as the farthest corner on the right, when in fact that is not the case. Sports in action. In still photographs, moments frozen in time, motion can only be implied, not actually shown. The two primary means to accomplish this are to hold the camera steady and allow the subject to move through the frame, blurring in the process, or track the subject as it moves and allow everything not moving with it to blur. The latter was favored by Donald Miral during his coverage of the ski jumping competition at the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, British Columbia in 2010. By keeping the skier in the same spot in his frame as he followed the action with a very long telephoto lens, the photographer forced foreground and background elements to streak, making it appear that the skier was simply descending an escalator. The truth is that the skier will be flying hundreds of feet through the air in a second or two with nothing but a pair of boards strapped to his boots. The advantage of this gambit is that the image becomes a portrait that gives us a glimpse of the concentration required for the task. And here's an image where the subject, the motorcycle, and the rider have been essentially frozen. The only movement apparent is in the front tire of the bike. And here's the other condition in which this is actually a condition where both the subject, the legs of the runner, and the background have blurred. And yet there's just enough information here that we understand what's going on. Street photography. Once a year, New York's Times Square fills with hundreds of thousands of revelers intent on celebrating the ringing in of the new year, commemorated by the descending of a brightly lit glass ball atop the building directly behind the statue of Father Duffy in the image above. This picture was not taken on one of those days, but then Lee Friedlander isn't particularly interested in recording events like New Year's celebrations. What he was interested in on this day was the presence of this heroic figure amidst the chaotic jumble of buildings of downtown Manhattan. Friedlander has always juggled several series at any given time, adding to each as he came across material that suited it. Father Duffy fit into what would become American Monument, a monumental photo book dedicated to uniquely American public sculptures. This image is typical of Friedlander's strategy, a seemingly haphazard aesthetic, complicated layers of intersecting information swarming around a unifying central theme. This is a photograph by Joel Meyerowitz of a man who has fallen in the street in Paris. This image by Philip Lorca de Corsia was taken on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood of a car wash. Travel. On assignment for National Geographic magazine, Steve McCurry has traveled the globe in search of the faces of those affected by world events. The photograph of the girl on the left was taken while McCurry was visiting a refugee camp that was housing victims of the war in her native Afghanistan. Her fiercely burning green eyes and intense stare earned the image a place on the cover of National Geographic, where it would become the best-selling and most widely recognized image in the magazine's history. McCurry became famous as a result. However, wherever he went, people wanted to know what had become of the girl in the picture. The search for her, conducted by a team of researchers, took 17 years and culminated in the image of Sherbat Gula. While the difficulty of surviving is etched on the face of the girl as an adult, McCurry chose to change as little in his approach to rephotographing her as possible, thus allowing the changes in her appearance to speak for themselves. Product. From the point of view of a manufacturer, one of its products may not even be considered to exist until it has been photographed. Before a new piece of furniture leaves the factory for showrooms and retailers, it is either sent to a studio or placed on a paper seamless on site for its close-up to allow salespeople to begin promoting the new product to potential customers. These two images were likely lit with an uncomplicated arrangement of high-intensity strobe or constant lights contained in large softboxes designed to spread light over a large surface, rendering shadows unobtrusive. This was done in such a way as not to cast too much light on the seamless background, allowing the chair to stand out. At some point, the decision was made to include someone sitting on the chair, perhaps to give it scale, or more likely to suggest to the viewer that this would be a perfect place to curl up if they were to purchase one of their own. Architecture. With the advent of new technologies devoted to the building of structures, all sorts of unusual and gravity-defying houses have been rising from the ground, some of them seemingly with little means of support. Led by the likes of Frank Gehry and Zaha Hadid, architects on all continents except Antarctica are demanding that engineers push the envelope of what is possible to the breaking point and then push some more. The relatively small tea house in the image above may not astonish as much as some of what's being done, but by placing the woman perched on a chair overhanging the canyon in what appears to be the open, photographer Tim Griffith gives us the impression that she is dangling out in space. By choosing to place the camera on the far side of the tree, the viewer might infer that they are actually looking at a tree house, a conceit courtesy of the photograph's limitation to 2 dimensions. The final objective is to state the facts in such a way as to create a romantic narrative in the viewer's mind. This is a photograph by Ezra Stoller, who was Frank Lloyd Wright's favorite photographer. And this is Falling Water in Pennsylvania. This is by Andrew Moore, who photographs primarily in large format and features a lot of features a lot of architecture in his fine art work.